Am I right with that or not?
Well, he did a little bit.
Okay, shed on a little bit.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I would just be careful with the word majority because I think they shifted guys on him. Barry Church was, and then Gibson was, Miles Jack was, and Ramsey was. So they did mix it up.
All right, so we're talking about Gronk. You got to put your most physical, basically your biggest freak on Gronk because he's physical, number one. He's strong. And, he's not the fastest guy, but he can create separation with his strength and size. So the money might be put Ramsey on Gronk, but at the same time, like I said, the last segment, I feel like Edelman was the best player on that field. And if Edelman's the best player, regardless if he's in the slot or wherever, and so here's the thing with the slot, some people don't understand is, listen, you can put your best cover corner on the slot, but it's a different matchup because you can't press anymore. He's in the slot. So, and for those of you that don't know that the slot is basically he's off the ball. Okay, so there's more room to work. That's why Danny Amendola was so good for the Patriots. Wes Welker, these slot receivers, these shorter guys that are really quick in space, not necessarily the biggest burners, but they're really good in space, have fast feet. So Edelman was in the slot for a majority of the time. So if Edelman's in the slot, I'm still putting Ramsey on him because I feel like Ramsey is the best cover corner. He's got the size, he's got the length, and we've seen it before. If Ramsey gets in trouble, he can make up for it with his athleticism, his closing speed, and his long arms. So if it was up to me, I'm putting Ramsey and Edelman all day.
Well, and the one thing about the Patriots is they're not going to run away from you.
Exactly.
Even if they'll create the space, and they might pick up an extra 7 or 8 yards, but they're not running the whole way. Mm-hmm. They're not going to, very few times in that game they weren't. Obviously, the Rams didn't want to give up the big play, but it doesn't feel like they would do that. So I was interested in that. Two things about this game that go along with Edelman. Obviously, we knew this going in. You talked about it a lot last week. The Patriots want to utilize the middle of the field because he can find it. He can sit in there. Brady loves to throw the middle of the field. It's a soft spot. Mm-hmm. But I thought both quarterbacks, while there wasn't an unbelievable amount of sacks, there were 4 on the Rams for the Patriots against Goff. I thought both quarterbacks had a lot of trouble stepping into their throws because there was pressure. It was close enough where there wasn't this clean pocket to just, boom, step up and rifle it. Mm-hmm. Interception by Goff was a great example of that. He throws off the back foot. But even Brady, remember there was a throw over the middle where he short hopped somebody?
Yeah.
And that was because he couldn't step into the throw.
Yep.
And so I think the pressure was there. But on that final drive, and I haven't shared this yet. I did on TV last night. The crowd, with 10 minutes in that game, huge Patriots crowd, starts chanting Brady. I don't know if you guys could see that.
Yeah, it was obvious.
But they were chanting Brady. It was just kind of one of those epic moments where everybody chants his name and then boom, 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 he goes down the field, wins the game for you. But they mixed something up because the interior of the offensive line and defensive line, the interior, the trenches, parted.
Yeah.
I mean, the whatever they did and designed right there, the Patriots were able to neutralize Sue and Donald on that drive, where he could step up into some of these throws, including the one to Gronk down the field.
So a majority of the game, like I discussed earlier today, was the fact that when they had James White and Gronk in, Gronk was tripping the defensive end. So basically what that means is, say a defensive end is outside the tackle, Gronk basically put a shoulder in him and kind of disrupted his flow a little bit.
Okay.
Obviously, we're talking Gronk. That's a big guy trying to, hit you. So it threw off the defensive end. It happened to Fowler a couple times. It happened pretty much the whole game to everybody. And then you also had James White tripping as well. James White stayed in a lot. He wasn't out like doing routes or whatever.
No.
He was staying in blocking.
Both teams were like that. There were not a lot of pass options in terms of the routes.
Yeah. So then what happens? Well, if you have time to throw, Brady's honey hole is right up the middle, and we call it the honey hole. It's where he likes to step up. Brady loves to step up in the pocket. Well, if you have two people tripping, if you got Gronk tripping, you got White staying in, what does that do? That allows the guard to step up the center. And all of a sudden, Donald was getting double-teamed, and sometimes Sue was getting double-teamed. So they couldn't get any pressure because they had 3 guys on 2 the whole game. And if you do that, you got a good chance of winning. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's good game planning.
It's great game planning. And then on top of it, you had Edelman in the slot where Edelman had more space to move. When he was on the line, they were trying to jam him a little bit, trying to trip him a little bit. But as soon as Edelman got in that slot and he had his space to move, Brady found him every single time. And it's interesting because it seems like the trend this year has been about the RPO, the run-pass offense. No one's talking about how the slot position has really taken over football. I mean, with 3 years ago, the slot receiver was considered like a 3 receiver, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now we got Tyreek Hill. We got Julian Edelman. These are legitimate, bona fide ones coming out of the slot.
Heck, people talk about Edelman in the Hall of Fame, which I say stop the car on that. But
and like even like Landry, who he had an okay season from the Browns, but he's another slot guy too. But you're starting to see these slot guys take over as one receivers. They're game changers. And I'm curious to see if this is the trend that they go with, just because with the slot guy, you can do so much with him, or if the fact that we get more of like the traditional DeAndre Hopkins, the Calvin Johnsons, just the traditional one receiver. But right now, the way it's shifting, it's the one's going to be the slot.
Well, I think of it for 2 reasons. First reason, those DeAndre Hopkins and guys like that, Calvin Johnsons of the world, they're hard to find.
True.
Right? And you don't want to invest a top 5 pick in a wide receiver most of the time. So they're really hard to find, these star wide receivers. So instead you can move in, say, well, we need 3 guys, right? Even the Rams, I mean, who's their number 1 guy?
Well,
who would you say?
So here's the thing. I always consider it to be Brandon Cooks, and Brandon Cooks is another slot guy. But if you watch the game last night, what did the Patriots do? They take away the number 1 receiver. They took away Robert Woods. They double-teamed Robert Woods almost the whole game, and they left Brandon Cooks on Gilmore. And once again, I'll break that down later. But that was the first thing that I looked for when I was watching the game. So the way I had it at the Super Bowl party, we had on the big screen, but then I also had my little cell phone streaming the game as well. So I could pause. I wasn't going to pause the main game, obviously. Yeah. So I was pausing.
Some homework for the show,
dude,
man.
I mean, I love it. You know what I'm saying? I love defense. So so I was pausing it, and one of my first questions was, listen, who are they going to double team and who are they going to leave on Gilmore on? Against the Chiefs, we saw Gilmore cover Sammy Watkins most of the time, and they left Hill with the double team. This was different. So they actually double teamed Woods and then left the slot guy. They left Cooks open to one-on-one. So I thought was a little interesting as well.
Yeah, that's good point.
So arguably you could say the Patriots thought that the best receiver was Robert Woods, which I think the Rams going into that didn't think that.
Yeah, most dangerous, at least from the Patriots' perspective.
Yep.
All right. My other reasoning, one, I said because they're hard to find the big guy, the number 1 guy, like the Calvin Johnsons, the A.J. Greens, the Julio Jones. The other reason is I believe what's changed football, everybody thinks the rules and the not being able to hit the quarterback and all that's changed football. No, I believe the slot guy is so prevalent, and I believe what's changed football offensively is the ability to get away with the pick play.
Yeah.
And so doesn't that help the slot guy?
It does help the slot guy, and that's actually how the Rams made all their – I mean, that's basically how they won a lot of games this year, was from that bunch formation where they can run the picks, because if you're in a bunch formation and guys are going each way, I mean, picks are going to happen regardless. That's just science. And that's something I'm going to get into later, of exactly what the Patriots did to stop those pick plays and to stop Jared Goff from finding that rhythm.
Yeah, pick play, in my opinion, has changed football, college and in the pros, because if you're not going to call it, it's impossible to defend. Impossible. And if you run it the right way, they're not going to call it. So Dante Moncrief did not run it the right way for Jacksonville that one game, and they called it, and they lost the game. Well, that sounds familiar. Hey, when we come back, a bet that really paid off on ESPN 690. Welcome back on a Monday following Super Bowl 53. Hope you had a chance to catch all our interviews and our fun on Radio Row in Atlanta. Fantastic Super Bowl. We had a great week, and we appreciate you catching it on all the different platforms. Just talking to Kuz. He's getting that podcast up and running. So I think we're basically on like double-digit platforms with this show. So if you ever have questions where to find us, let us know. But we're working on getting it in so many different places. That way, if you can't get it on one place, you can get it on another, and there's no excuse not to find us. Right, Coos?
It's seriously everywhere. Like, that's what I was telling the higher-ups were asking, where is it? And I was like, where isn't it is a shorter answer.
Very good. What I am going to do, I'm going to get a little graphic I can share on social media now that we're up on all those places, so we can do it. What you got? You got a little breaking news over there, Austin Lane?
Yeah, I just unblocked Kuz. I figured out how to do it.
Oh, you figured it out.
Very breaking news. Welcome back, pal. We missed you, man.
Yes.
It's great to have you back.
So did somebody tell you on social media how to do it, or did you figure it out?
I figured it out myself.
You're a smart dude.
I am.
Unbelievable.
You were the first person. Actually, no, you are the second person to block me on Twitter.
Who was your first?
Mark Cuban.
Really?
Yeah, I had some. It's a long story.
Whoa, you got some skeletons on.
Well, he had made this social media platform. It's actually really boring. It was called like Cyberdust or something like that, and I tried it, and I was like, this is horrible. So I tweeted at him that it was bad, and he blocked me.
Wow, someone's a little sensitive.
That's it? Like, did you MF him or something?
I'm sure Koo said something else. There's more to the story.
I literally said, I was like, hey, I think it was like M Cuban is his handle, and I was just like, Cyberdust isn't that great, man.
All right.
And he blocked you.
Yeah, I think I'm still blocked, honestly. I have to check.
Wow. I believe I am blocked by some people, which...
Jalen?
Yeah. Jalen is one. I don't...
Sensitive.
But I don't know who else. Like, I really don't know. But once in a while, I'll see a tweet that I can't read. And I don't even know names. But it's just maybe... I thought they could mute me if they don't. But they probably block me instead because they don't want to... They're tired of my tweets, which
Hawk's
I don't blame them for that.
Threatened to block me.
What did you do there?
I asked if I could be their social media manager.
And they threatened to block you for that?
Well, the guy who was tweeting at me at the time was the social media manager.
And he wasn't doing a good job.
This guy's you're an absolute maniac right now.
It's not like there was a job opening.
No, he's calling that guy's job. He's just trying to feed his family, man.
I was just seeing if they wanted something better.
Yeah, well, I don't blame them for probably almost blocking you.
Wild card.
Welcome back, Brent Martin of Austen Lane, and that's Justin Kuzart. Kuz, watch out for him. He might block you. Or you might want to block him, depending on what he says to you on Twitter. All right, ballin' and fallin' time. And right now it sounds like Kuz is ballin' because he's unblocked.
Welcome back.
What do you got for ballin'?
Ballin'.
I mean, is this like the easiest ballin' and fallin' ever?
I mean,
coming off a Super Bowl, but
I literally have like 3 weeks of material if I really wanted to.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of phoning it in though. But for ballin', I got to give props, man. The NFL 100 commercial. Have you seen it?
Very good.
Yeah. In a night with Zoe Kravitz doing some kind of whispering thing to sell beer and Andy Warhol eating a burger like a weirdo. Leave it to beast mode. Dick Butkus, Franco Harris, Aaron Donald, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, Jalen Ramsey making an appearance. The girl, Sam Gordon, I guess. I didn't know that was Sam Gordon at the time. You know who Sam Gordon
is?
Yeah. Sam
I did not know either until she tweeted and I saw that.
Because she got a lot older, obviously. So leave it to them to have probably the best commercial of the whole entire night. There were a few runner-ups. I mean, obviously the Heineken one was okay with the Big Lebowski, although I didn't really get the Sex and the City reference because I didn't watch that show, but I guess that girl's really into martinis or something. Who cares? And then besides that, there was an Audi commercial too where the guy was choking on a peanut, I think it was, and he was seeing his father or something like that with a new Audi, and then he came back down to reality. So that was a great one. But hey, NFL 100 commercial. Fantastic commercial. Props.
Great balling, too, because here's the deal. For us, we don't get to see the commercials. Mm-hmm. Again, that's why I always tell people, I say it's not great being there. Like, I enjoyed it last night, but you don't see the commercials. You don't see all the replays. So it's a different viewing experience than, well, gazillions of people had. Mm-hmm. But I did see that one because they've done this in the last few years. They'll play a few of them.
Okay.
So they'll play them up on the big Jumbotrons now, and they did play that one. I thought it was fantastic. I tweeted a little bit about it. I said the production of that must have been unreal.
Yeah.
First of all, getting everybody, and then pulling it off. But it also must have been a blast. I mean, all those old-timers and all the legends and now the new blood and stars of today.
Yeah.
And good for Jalen Ramsey to be in it and had the old Franco Harris play. I mean, that's it was really, really well done. I thought well thought out, well produced, and well executed and from this side of it.
And it was so awesome because they had, Marshawn Lynch beast mode start the whole thing off.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure.
Perfect, right?
Well, and I'm not sure from a media standpoint how you feel about Marshawn Lynch, but I always thought he was one of the greatest personalities ever in the NFL. So it was cool to see him, get some love too.
My mom was so funny. I was talking to her this morning, and she said, I said, "Did you see that commercial?" She said, "Yeah, I liked it." She's like, I don't know why they had to have so much violence in it. Fair enough. But then on top of it, I was like, but you probably didn't recognize any of the football players, did you? She's like, well, I mean, I knew a couple, I know the one guy, who's the one with the brother? I was like, Peyton Manning? Yeah. But so it's funny, she enjoyed the commercial. She liked it. But she didn't even know everybody. I enjoyed the commercial because you're like, oh, that's him, and that's him, and that's him. That's cool.
And it was funny when it first started out, because I thought it was going to be like, have you ever seen the movie The Program, where the guy, where Epps puts the ball on the ground and they'll get on top of it? I thought it was just going to be like that, and that was going to be it. So I'm like, it's kind of cheesy. But then it goes into this whole orchestrated, long, drawn-out thing, and it was genius.
How long was that commercial?
It had to be 2 minutes.
It must have been a 2-minute thing.
Yeah. And speaking of commercial, before we get to your ball, and did you see the John Malkovich promo or the teaser.
Okay, they played
Teaser,
that one up there as well.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to someone at the time, so I did not see it. I have to go back and look at that.
Okay,
Was it good?
I'm just gonna let you decide. I'm not gonna.
Tell me. You're not gonna influence me either way.
Well, they used like the same the same music from the Jaguars one, so that was kind of
so
weird.
they tried to repurpose it a little bit.
It felt totally repurposed.